Hey, it's Lights, and you're watching Rock Forever magazine.
We got to talk about your music a little. Your new album, Little Machines, is out now.
Yeah.
And what elements did you add musically and lyrically to make this album different from previous releases?
I think it's just, everything that you've learned over time and becoming better as a performer and a writer and a lyricist and a singer and understanding yourself more as time goes on. The album is just a bit more grown up than anything I've done, and that's kind of the idea, I guess. Yeah. Ideally, you don't write something that's worse or less mature, I guess.
We'd hope so.
As you move along, but I think this time around we did the record more traditionally. With the past records, it was kind of like I was just taking chances to write here and there, and then when we feel like we had the songs, it's like fix up the demos a bit and put out a record. But this one, I wrote 43 songs for.
That's
when we
found
the 11 that we liked the most, we booked studio time to go and record a record really traditionally. So you go in and you try to make one cohesive record, record it all within the same span of time, bring in the boys from the band to get some of that live feel in there. So there's live drums in it, and there's hard synths, and 95% of the synths on the record are actual outboard, vintage analog synths. So you get this really alive feeling from it that maybe wasn't in the other ones, which were largely soft synth and VSTs and kind of thing.
And I was reading an article about the album, and I heard, I read a quote from you here that said, Little Machines is a triumph after a long dry spell. So what did you mean by that?
Well, I was, I think with every record it gets a little bit harder to figure out what you want to say or where you want to go with it.
Right.
Because you want to one-up yourself every time, but then there's all these pressures, and I think I let those pressures get to myself, and I was facing some pretty bad writer's block for a while. And it just came down to exercising my creativity in other ways. I put music away for a little bit and, worked on painting and poetry and just loosened my creativity up through alternate means. And then in the process of that, found out I was having a baby. And then that kind of changes your outlook on everything. And it was interesting because it was some of the toughest writer's block I've ever dealt with. It's something that comes and goes a lot, but it was a real long dry spell, and I think it took that for me to just really pull back and rediscover what I loved about music. And I really do love making music. I remember when I first started producing, I had this little 8-track. I was 13, and I would stay up all night just recording and writing and finding new sounds and producing, and that was where I wanted to be at again. I wanted to feel that excitement about music, because once you get into the industry, you learn a little bit too much about everything. It can get a little diluted and watered down, and you start to doubt the reason you're there in the first place. Your intentions start shifting more towards writing hit songs and making money, and you can't focus on that if you want to be true to yourself as an artist. So it took kind of the toughest writer's block ever to really realize how much I love what I do, and it became about that. Just write a feel-good record.
Of course. And I mean, I think there are a lot of upcoming musicians that really look up to you, because you have been in the industry for so long and you've had a lot of experience. So what advice do you have for them to stay focused on what's important and to, deal with writer's block when it comes?
Yeah, well, I mean, my sort of general knowledge of everything evolves over time. Right now, I would just say enjoy it. Love what you do. Put passion into it. Don't do it for any reason other than that, because that's the point. At the end of your life, you want to know that you enjoyed every step of the way. So if you love making music, do it. And if it's frustrating you, take a break and exercise your creativity another way. I think exercising creativity is so important for mental health. And going back to that Menchie's flavor, that on March 11th, everybody that buys any yogurt at Menchie's, all the money goes towards Music Counts, which puts instruments in the hands of kids that need it. So that's just one example of how important I think it is for everyone to be able to put anything negative in their life into some kind of art form. But if one art form is frustrating you, move on to another one and exercise that. And it's all going to the same muscle, I think. And do it because you love it, honestly. There's really no other reason.
Yeah, and you released a really fun music video for Runnin' with the Boys not so long ago, a few weeks ago, and it was so much fun for me to watch. So what inspired the concept for that? How'd that come about?
Well, the song is really nostalgic. It's all about my youth. I mean, the first verse is all about me probably around age 9, 10, and then the second verse is more about my teen years, but that sort of feeling that you own the night and the world is yours, and you sing loud and you are passionate about things and you're captivated by a craze. And I remember I loved chains for your wallet and baggy orange parachute pants, and you get into the things that you're into so passionately when you're young, and that is awesome. And so with the video, I just wanted to do something that reminded me of being young again. And we cast all my girlfriends in the video. Oh, cool. So it was like we're this like cool girl pack, even though it's called Running with the Boys. And then we cast young girls to play our younger selves. So it was like, the spirits that we had when we were younger, that spirit of exploration and creativity and energy is still there. Years later, you're still the same people.
Yeah. And what was your favorite moment from behind the scenes filming that? Because now that you're saying you had all of your friends there, so it must have been an amazing time.
It was awesome. It was fun to be with them, because I'm lucky enough to work with them. I mean, 2 of those girls in the video are on my management team, so nice. we're really tight. I'm lucky that I get to work with my friends every day, and then not only get to work with them, because they would typically be on set with me if I was shooting a video. Suddenly they're in the video behind the camera, so it was a really nice, turn of the table. They were all just sitting around. I mean, one of my favorite sets was when we're on the couch. This is a sort of outdoor set. And there's a nod to axe throwing, because everybody always likes to go axe throwing. Yeah. There's some axes in the background. We were just kind of sitting around drinking Jones and like in a backyard setting, and I think that's something that we do. And it was fun just to sit there and like have someone film us.
Definitely. And I feel like you've just reached so many amazing career milestones, like the yogurt flavor, obviously. Yeah. And I think that's just something a lot of artists really only dream of achieving. So now that you've had all of the success, what brings you the most fulfillment?
I would say being a mother. I mean, there's nothing that can top that ever. Unless maybe someday I have another kid, and then it will balance it out. But really, like, nothing brings me more joy than waking up next to my daughter every day and knowing that you're feeding into somebody's life, and you're creating a person, you're creating a personality, and you just want to be the best you can for them, and it brings out the best in me, and it brings out the best in everybody on the bus and on tour, because there's this like totally innocent, happy little person that's just absorbing everything, and you don't want to do anything wrong, because you want them to be so, like, turn out well, So it just gives a greater sense of purpose overall. And I think that's what everybody's looking for ultimately, is this greater sense of purpose as they wander through life. And having a child is something that helps for sure.
Yeah. So you just led me to my next question here. We got a fan question here from Christian wanting to know, what is it like for you to have Rocket on the road with you?
It's amazing. And to reiterate all that, it really is. I mean, it's a lot of work. I think people underestimate how much work it is. Fans will get frustrated that I don't stand out there for hours like I used to, taking photos with everybody. But it's in a different prioritization of my time now, and I still do meet and greets every night. I still spend hours a day on it, but it's a lot of work to be up through the night and wake up in the morning and get somebody dressed and make sure that they're taken care of and take them out so that they're seeing sunlight. I mean, on tour, typically you just sit in the germ tube, aka the bus, and then come to the venue. You don't really ever have to see daylight, but when you have a kid with you, you're like, oh, I'm going to take you to the park, I'm going to take you here so you can see this. We need to exercise and stretch your legs. So there's a lot of extra things that are going on, but it's all balanced out by the amount of joy I get from it.
Yeah, you definitely got to balance your time now with more responsibilities there. And another fan question here came from Blue, and I know this sort of topic is going around a lot in the media right now, but she wants to know, do people ever underestimate your abilities as a woman in the music industry, and if so, how do you handle that?
I've encountered moments here and there throughout my career where, whether it's people underestimating me, or if it's people just the industry not accommodating a woman. And case in point, we were just on tour in the UK, and more than one occasion I wasn't allowed to bring my baby into the venue because she's underage, and it's like, okay, well, she's not going to be drinking, so there's got to be some gray area here in the law that makes it really impossible for a female in the industry to have a family, and that's kind of unfair. You can't say, well, you can be in the industry but you're not allowed to have a family. Like, that's just not fair, because as a woman you have to be with the child, especially if you're breastfeeding, especially if you want to maintain a career. So there needs to be some changes within our law structure to accommodate female performers a little bit more in some of those ways. So that's something that I'm really thinking about a lot lately, as well as, I've never approached my music and my abilities from the perspective of, I'm a woman, I feel so separated. I've always just treated myself like a musician and seen myself as a musician, and I think thus the people kind of treat you the same way, and I don't expect to be treated any different. But there's been moments where, house guys that work at venues or something who don't know anything about me kind of, laugh when they think you don't know how to set up your own gear or something, and then, at the end of the show are shaking your hand. So it's nice to be able to prove somebody wrong.
Absolutely.
You know?
I definitely feel that there. And you are currently on a U.S. headlining tour, and I feel like by now you probably know the American culture pretty well because you've toured here a lot, but you are Canadian. So is there anything that when you're in the United States you have to have or experience that you don't have over in Canada? Because I was thinking like poutine in Canada, like for us, is kind of a big deal.
You know what? Everything in America has made its way to Canada.
True.
It's only the opposite. Like some of the things that are like uniquely Canadian haven't really made their way down here, like Tim Hortons and poutine.
Exactly.
But, I don't know, with the internet, the world is getting so much smaller. Everybody is kind of, we're overseas and people are kind of the same there too. So it's like everyone's wearing the same clothes and you go to Starbucks in, Frankfurt and you feel like you're at home. But, I don't know, down here, I mean, we certainly don't have palm trees. And that is something I look forward to so much. Like, it's so tropical and warm and humid and you just can't get that at home. I live in Vancouver, which is the warmest place in Canada, and it's still nowhere near how wonderful it is here. So you guys have it made, man.
Yeah, we definitely got those palm trees. And what are your plans for right after this tour? What else is coming up that we can look forward to?
Well, at the end of this tour, we're actually doing the Junos. I'm up for Pop Album of the Year at the Juno Awards, so we're playing on the award show as well. So, looking forward to that a lot. And then I get to go home for like a couple weeks, which is going to be amazing. We've been on the road since the beginning of the year, and then we're doing Coachella and a bunch of shows in between Coachella, and a lot more stuff. Oh yeah, then we're have a support slot opening for One Republic and an arena tour across Canada following Coachella. So, yeah, it's gonna be busy.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. Looking forward to all of that. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for hanging out. This has been amazing.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Anytime. And everybody watching, make sure you check out Lights if you haven't already. Little Machines is on iTunes. Subscribe for more interviews, and I'll catch you later. Bye.